Well, hey everybody. Here I am, Jared Malott, with my good friend Mateo. Please. This is the Coltist. This is season 3, episode 5, Anthony Richardson special.
Yeah.
Here we are, doldrums of summer, brother. Just like you were telling me a few minutes ago. You're like, the Colts haven't even come up in Twitter in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I almost you could say like I almost forgot about football with the I've been following, of course, like we talked before, the WNBA with Caitlin Clark. That's
Yeah,
where most of the attention is, and of course it's the NBA with Tyrese and the Olympics and
right.
the USA team. And I almost forgot about the Colts. It was like, hey, I've been getting zero news. Like no drama, no nothing.
Well, I think you'd kind of come to expect something to happen with the Colts here and about this part of the season. In seasons past. You've had players retire, you've had guys get injured, guys get hurt this time of year because they're bored, right?
Hmm.
It's between voluntary mini camp and the mandatory one, right? And so right now, these guys have been working out all spring and summer to prepare themselves for the upcoming season. And then they'll show up in varying degrees of condition prepared to play, I imagine. Obviously, we're calling this the Anthony Richardson special, and I figure we'll save the Colts for the last part of the episode, simply because the city's got bigger things going on right now.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think we should start our podcast off by tipping the hat to Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever point guard got voted to the All Star team as a rookie. Now, so did Angel Reese. And I want to point this out. Obviously, the Fever got their pick right. Okay. I haven't seen a rookie play at this level. Um, hmm, try to think of somebody actually watched play as a rookie because I got to be at LeBron James' first game against the Indiana Pacers. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like she's like Steve Nash. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about Caitlin Clark and who she kind of reminded me of. But that team is only going to continue to get better, right? The Fever right now, you look at their record, they're like 9-13, and you're thinking they're the
Yeah.
eighth seed, they're the last seed. Hey,
Yeah, I mean
that's
they'll
a
make
team that's
the
been real bad for
yeah,
the
it
last
looks like
couple
they'll make
years.
the playoffs. They've
Yeah,
been
they would be
better
making the
as
playoffs
yeah, as
if the
of
season
recent.
ended right now. They'd make the playoffs.
Yeah. And they've been improving and also, wanting to point out Caitlin Clark. I don't know if it was yesterday or the night before. She was the first WNBA rookie to get a triple double after being, I believe it was like a rebound short the game before, then she went out and got it. And of course, the most important, the figure one. I mean, they won their
Yeah,
game. Caitlin's playing amazingly. I don't know the exact numbers about the All Star voting, but it was her, and then I believe it was don't want to botch the name. I believe it was Leah Boston also at second. So it looks like we're going to have two All Star players.
hmm
NBA Fever. So yeah, I mean it's going amazingly. It's exactly I think it's almost Aliyah Boston. Yeah, it's almost like our expectations are getting fulfilled. Not only in that, of course, Caitlin's an amazing basketball player,
yeah,
but also the attention that Indiana is getting because of her. I mean, we are basically the hottest team in the league. I mean, everyone's watching. I mean, I don't want to be, that guy because Angel Reese said, "Hey, they are also watching because of me." I mean, if you
sure,
just look at the numbers. I mean, Caitlin Clark's games are getting the most viewership. She's getting the
yeah,
most All-Star votes.
mm,
Her games are almost always sold out. I think all of them were sold out.
yeah.
So, I mean, those are just the facts. I'm not saying anything subjective here.
No, and if you think about the way her career kind of started, uh, and we've talked about it before, but just to hit on that again, they played 11 games in like 14 days to start the season, and it was the WNBA trying to capitalize on the wave, right? They had this new hot number one overall pick point guard going to a basketball state, right? Like they need to put her under the
Yeah,
microscope, right? And
yeah,
one of the things that I will appreciate out of Caitlin Clark, whether she has a very long and distinguished career or she ends up hanging up a little early, uh, a la Andrew Luck, right? I have that expectation now
yeah,
out of athletes. Um,
hmm,
one of the things I'll notice is she plays well even when the team loses.
yeah,
One of the things that I noticed a lot about like superstar players is when the team's losing and sometimes that superstar doesn't have a good game, then obviously like they're star dependent. And in order for them to win, that player has to play well. And it's like, no, like plenty of times, uh, players have average or below average games, not comparative to the league, comparative to what they're capable of, right? Like they don't play up to their standard and the team
yeah,
loses, right? No, she plays well every game. And like you were talking about, first rookie to have a triple double and was one either rebound or assist short of it the game before. Um, she's been doing that all season long where I'd post her line and I'd say, you know, like this team got bamboozled the start of the season. They played a lot of
yeah,
games in without much rest, and then they're 6-4 in their last 10, and their last win was over a 17-4 New York Liberty
yeah,
team. So like they're now beating the best team in the league, right? And I thought it was great leading into that game. Caitlin Clark had said something to the effect that vets don't give her advice. And I noticed in the game, the Liberty players are all talking to her, um, in the kind of the dull moments of the game. But like I said,
yeah,
the she's handling it well. Uh, she got getting a lot of attention and a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of eyeballs. And it's been fun to watch. Right, these the Indiana Fever haven't been good in like a decade. And it kind of goes to show when you have the number one overall pick 2 years in a row, you're pretty
yeah,
bad. And I think that we've been saying it. I've been saying it ever since I started podcasting that continuity is key, right? And the most important thing is that if you're going to keep these people together and you're not just going to move half your roster because it's bad, um, then the more games that these girls play together, they're going to look better. And Caitlin Clark won't be throwing to air because there's so many times where she makes a great look and the other person just wasn't ready to receive
yeah.
a
Wasn't
pass.
ready, or yeah. I
And
mean, it
and
makes
that's
sense.
you can only fix that with repetition. It's not like it's not time, repetition, more instances where you'll see them start to look over their shoulder and just catch those
Yeah,
passes and you'll be like, wow, she was doing it the whole time. Caitlin Clark was. It's like she's playing at light speed and everybody else is just playing normal basketball, right?
yeah,
I would even there's sometimes I want to stay a little Magic Johnson, but on the whole, like she reminds me of Steve Nash, but she's a little she's a spark plug, man. Like she's one of those
yeah,
kids you put the ball in her hand and it's going in the bucket one way or the other. Um, and I think about she gets the ball off the inbound, passes it off, and literally runs a full circle, like runs to left corner, all baseline to the right corner, gets a screen out to the top, gives the ball up, shoots over to the opposite to the left wing, and they give her the ball back as she shoots, and that was the first possession, and you're just
yeah,
like Steph Curry? Like she's literally just run the whole possession. Like that's like Steph Curry. And she's not. And that's the thing is I don't want to ever make bad comparisons, right? Because you don't want people to be like, she doesn't play
yeah,
anything like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
she doesn't play anything like Steph Curry. Steph Curry does frequently not bring the ball up. There are other people that bring the ball up. He also gives the ball up a lot and goes. And so, like, she's the kind of person that she will take the ball up every time. And she's capable of just keeping that ball and she'll go to the bucket a lot off the dribble. Because she's just gonna break down the person guarding her. Um, Where I think when I think of Steph, I think Steph gets it across half court, gives it up. They have a little guard play out top, and then he's just
Yeah.
running somebody into the rails to get open. Where I feel like she's a little more involved in their offense. But like I said, I felt like if you go back and watch, it's like the other girls were jealous and not fully bought in.
Yeah, just yet.
And they're starting to turn the corner. Like there was a pass in the paint from Caitlin Clark to Aaliyah Boston that I was like, that's that magic right there. Like if everybody is anticipatory with their movement, she's gonna get the ball to the open
Yeah.
person. They're gonna
She's
get
not
an
gonna
easy
turn
look.
the ball over as much.
No, not if
You
people
look at
start anticipating
yeah.
it, and that takes
You,
buy-in. It takes repetition. It's practice. It's games themselves, right? But
yeah.
it's playing out in real time. Like they were getting overworked. Now they're working over good teams, and it's like and it's early here. That last win, I think that was the Liberty.
Yeah, New York Liberty.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
the New
it's
York Liberty.
early.
It's
And not
early, but
only
that's a big program win. When that team is
yeah.
17-4, the Fever are 9-13. Like, wow. Like it's just that's a big program win. That's one that will kind of stick to your rib. And should build a lot of confidence. And again, if the season ended today, the Fever in the playoffs. Imagine in the same year you have the number one pick, you go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a huge leap. And like people aren't talking about that. I don't feel like they're talking about the sort of the rise. And I get it now if you think about it. Like if you have number one pick 2 years in a row and
Yeah.
you get that remotely correct, you should be okay. Because and they unfortunately they did Aaliyah Boston frequently has a double double and is big on the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah, she's great.
So they've got a like I said, they've got two bona fide hustlers, and then the rest of the team's kind of coming along. But I'm excited for the Fever, um, mostly because we don't have the Olympics to distract the team, and you tend to just achieve more when you don't have people missing. It's just that easy. Um, where I could see that kind of having an impact on some of these other teams that have two and
Yeah, there are
three.
missing players.
Well, there's teams that have 2 and 3 Olympians on them, and because the WNBA is not that big, but I can see here's the effect of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark alone is going to allow the WNBA to expand and become a bigger league and have more
Yeah.
teams and soak
Yeah,
up
that should
more.
happen.
And it's great for basketball. I'm super excited. Like I said, my big thing because Andrew Luck is like I just hope that she can continue to like manage the stress. I don't think it's ever healthy, especially in the world that we live in, to say like I don't look at social media and I don't pay attention to outside noise. Um, I think that's crazy. And like if you're not doing that and you don't have your thumb on the pulse, like it's hard to manage it all if you're not dialed in, if you don't know what the talk is. And I would want to know, right? Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of talk about, you know, I think that I'm going to say two things, right? On the one hand, when a rookie point guard gets a triple double and gets voted to the All Star game, that's a big damn deal. But I hear what Angel Reese is saying about like she's not the only capable athlete in the league. Like the best player in the league, Asia Wilson, is
Yeah.
like Michael Jordan. Like she does everything. Like some of the dribble pull ups, I'm like, what? Like she's insane, and
Yeah,
she's big too.
she's killing everyone.
She's big too. So the thing about Caitlin Clark that I have to remember is that she's not a big girl. She's a small
Yeah.
guard. So it's like she has a lot on her shoulders, and she's not a big person. Whereas some of these other players are more like professional basketball players, where they're 6'5", 6'8". You know what I mean? Like, so I have to remember that. Where Angel Reese is saying, like, she ain't the only really good player. They're coming to watch me too, right?
Yeah.
Um, And like I said, I think it's more than Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. I'm not; these ain't the only players I can name.
Yeah, there are plenty. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are a lot of
But
really good players.
I think that the league will expand. I think that there's plenty of interest.
Yeah,
If you've got a daughter, you want to take her to see the WNBA because it's a viable job if you're willing to take the game serious enough. I figured since we talked about the Olympics, we could cut to the and just talked
yeah,
about the
to
Pacers.
Pacers.
Um, Obviously, we've known Tyrese Halliburton got selected. He'll play for the 2024 Olympic team, and they just arrived for Olympic practice. So obviously, we're thankful that for the men, the season's long
Yeah,
over.
yeah, it's
Before
not. Yeah, they won't be missing any game.
so obviously that's good, and then obviously the Pacers uh, kind of shook the Hornets nest a little bit and signed themselves a backup big man in James Wiseman. Um, and you go back and you watch film and you're like, yeah, I'll take him. He's big and aggressive and doesn't have to come in and start, but certainly looks like he could be productive in your rotation. And that's great. In the wake of losing Jalen Smith, right? Obviously, you'd like to keep the band together, but he did miss a lot of time.
Yeah, and he got. I mean, he seemed like a great locker room guy.
Mhm.
Everyone was nice with him, and he got a really. I think he got like a 3 year, $27 million deal. So it's not like he's out of a job or any miserable. He got a very
No,
nice deal. He was on a 1 year contract with the Pacers because do you remember like his season before this one? He was really great. He signed that 1 year deal, and it's like go get your money, right?
right.
And so yeah, with Pascal in and hopefully Walker taking the next step next season. I mean, he should start seeing consistent minutes. I think in what he showed here, and I'm not saying he should be starting, but Jaras should be getting, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes a night at least. So yeah, that means, I
He
mean,
played
you
really
only have,
confidently when they sent him down.
yeah,
I actually
yeah, he
stayed
was
up
great.
and watched those games, and he looked the most confident on the floor. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah,
confidently rebounded the basketball, got it across half court, gave it up, went and ran some motion offense, came back out, got the ball, gets the ball with like 8 seconds left. And this is a big guy. Like Jarris Walker is not a guard,
yeah,
but he gets the
he's
ball with
really
like
big.
8 seconds left from like 30 feet out, and he walks the dude down and buries a three in his face. And you're thinking like, well, nobody else is clamoring for the basketball. But Jarris Walker's big ass can really serve. Um, Obviously, in the NBA, you rarely have questions about can the guy score. Mostly, you're trying to figure out if he's got the gas to play defense, right? Because that's the trouble with these really good teams is they got a bunch of scorers. You're just out of luck. And now everybody's got to be able to defend the five out. I feel like I'm watching 2K. Whenever I watch the NBA, it's like every team just defaults to a five out. Five out is one guy has the ball out top,
Yeah,
everybody else is on the wing and corners. For those that are watching us that don't know, and then it's just a dribble drive or a dribble handoff or a pick and roll from the wing, and they're trying to either get the ball to the corner for the corner three, which is like the best shot on the floor, but they'll take whatever's open. Uh, it gener it generally it has everybody expending the least amount of energy, right? Because two people are standing still, right? You're only running motion with two people, so um,
yeah.
obviously the Pacers are in a window, and we're going to talk about the Colts too, right? Also being in an apparent window. Um, but the Pacers right now, um, I don't know that it's the signing of Wiseman. I don't know that that's what's going to get you over the hump. But I saw a
Nah,
picture of Nemhard and Matherin, and I still kind of had a feeling about that kid when he was drafted that he was gonna be real special, and he got injured last year. The Pacers still made the playoffs, made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I don't know about you, but against Boston, I was kind of wondering what does Ben Mathurin do to this series? Because he's the kind of guy that when the chips are down, he comes in, punches it on somebody, and then all of a sudden we got ourselves a basketball game. We got our mojo back. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like he's that kind of a change of pace guy. Um, Obviously, I think if he can stay healthy and he can play like 70 games, hey, Pacers could be really tough. Because I have a
yeah,
feeling it's going to end up in the same spot. I don't see the East
yeah. I don't think it's a
loading
strong
up.
Yeah, I'm not
I
high on the Sixers. I don't think the Sixers adding PG makes them a viable contender. I think Tyrese Maxey has his flaws. Joel
yeah.
Embiid, for all his talent, he really struggles to remain healthy.
Yeah.
And he struggles a lot with that. So it's a
And
really
he
big deal for
plays
them.
injured. Like,
Yeah,
and I get it, he's tough, but like I watched him play a full game where he limped the whole
yeah.
game. And I was just like, I mean, I guess if I'm a Sixers fan, I don't want to watch that though. Like,
Nah, yeah.
sure,
I,
you're
there was a
tough.
game against
This
the
is
Knicks
stupid.
where, yeah, he was just you could tell, he was not even at 50%, and you're like,
No.
why are you even playing?
Yeah.
So I'm not high on the Sixers. I'm not high. I think the Knicks are gonna be dangerous, but we already beat them,
Yep.
and that's a really big threat. Then of course you have to talk about the Celtics. They are still by far the most talented team, recent champions. Those are of course the guy to beat. But then it's like what else?
The
The
Bucks
Magic, yeah, it's Bucks who Giannis. I mean, it all depends on the
and
health of
Damian
Giannis,
Lillard.
but yeah, Lillard is like 34, 35. Chris Middleton is 34.
Yeah.
And those are like you're saying, hey, I mean, that's not the same as being 26, 27. Your body's not the same.
Nope.
And you also have the Cubs, which, it's like, yeah, they could be a pain in the ass, but you should be able, at full health, you should be able to, beat those teams.
Yeah.
So I believe, like, if you ask me right now, before any injuries, before anything happens, I would say it's Boston 1A, and
Yeah.
then step below, it's the Knicks and the Pacers
Yeah.
right now. And then you go another step below, and it's Bucks, Magic, Cavaliers. The Sixers are the best of the rest, those
Yep.
teams. But those are the six where I say, okay, they are the dangerous teams.
Yeah. So like I said, got a feeling we're in kind of a window here. I think you're going to be good as long as Tyrese Halliburton's happy and healthy,
Yeah,
right? And interested in football. And I know we got that caveat on like everybody now, but it's just the way it is now. Um, Again, I was kind of hoping the Pacers were in on the Paul George,
yeah,
just because I'm a revisionist who doesn't want to have get
yeah.
somebody to
It would
come
have
back
been a really
around.
good story.
Um, I don't know that that's what we need. Another ball hungry, score first player. Not much on defense. Um, but yeah, I another year where I feel like the West is more talent heavy.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost getting absurd at this point. I mean, when I look at the West, I think there are like perhaps 6 or 7 teams on that conference where I say, okay, they would be the number 1 or 2 seed here, and
yeah.
it's insane. The talent
And it's
difference
like,
is,
why wouldn't you want to play in the East? I don't get it. It seems like if
yeah,
you're really good, especially if you're really good, you'd want to play in the East because it's not as talent heavy. And
yeah,
you're gonna play these teams anyway. They play everybody, right? So yeah, I don't know. I also want to talk about LeBron James' son got drafted 55th. And like I was saying, I was at LeBron James' first game against the Indiana Pacers many, many years ago. Um, I'm a big LeBron James fan.
yeah.
Um, Braun got drafted by the Lakers at 55th. And then last night, I watched his NBA debut in Summer League. And he played like 20 minutes. It was mostly getting up and down. He definitely needs to play more decisive. But he did absolutely just destroy someone off the dribble and hit a jumper in their face. And normally, if a guy can hit a spot up, you know what I mean? Guy hits his
Yeah,
layups, whatever. One thing, it's a whole nother thing to get the basketball. And while I'll agree on the highlight I'm talking about, it took him a second to realize, oh shit, I'm in the NBA. But once he did that, it was, right dribble, cross, tween, step back, right in your fucking eyeballs. And I was like, huh, you know what? He's not anything like his dad, and it's great.
yeah,
He's a guard. Um, and I think as long as he can play appreciable defense in the NBA, he has the offensive game. And again, I want to point out that when he was doing the NBA workouts, they did a 3-point star drill and he didn't miss a shot. And I just want to point out that Steph Curry missed 2 shots.
yeah,
So he came in, shot lights out, got drafted, obviously gets to play with his dad. That's its own story. I'm not even talking about
yeah,
what influence his dad had in him getting drafted. I'm saying that for a 55th pick, when you watch him run up and down, and then he gets the ball and has to do something with it, you're like, oh, sure, sure, whatever. You can call him LeBron James' son all you want. He's going to be
hmm,
just fine in the NBA because he's got a handle and he can shoot. And I didn't shoot very well. He was like 2 for 9. None of that matters. That was your first taste of league action, and you got to show something, some set of skills, right? That you can work off that tape, right? And it showed me he didn't lose the ball. He wasn't loose. He didn't have bad hands. You know what I mean? He was able to break someone down off the dribble and hit a jump shot, not a 3-pointer, not get in the paint. You know what I mean? Which is stuff his dad's good for. No, he broke someone down and hit a 17-foot jumper, and you're like, hey,
yeah,
this kid can ball. And I just want to stick that out there because there's lots of people that are talking about Bronny James, but it's in the tone where it's like he's not any good, and the only reason he got drafted is because of his daddy, and it's just like, no,
yeah.
he's
That's not a fair.
not like he's not 6'8", 265. You know, you know what I mean? He's not LeBron James. But he is gonna stick in this league and have himself a career if he chooses to stick around. And then I figure lastly here, because like we said at the beginning, this is the doldrums of summer.
Yeah, nothing's
We're in
happening about
between
the Colts.
voluntary mini camp and mandatory training camp, and if anything, you want dead, you want radio silence.
Yeah, you don't want news right now because if any news come out, like at this time, if any news come out, they're not good. I mean, it's either a player getting injured, a player getting busted, a player, that has some of the, I don't know, requested trade or is not happy. Like nothing good can come out of this, at
Right.
least before training camp.
Remember last year before the season started, if I remember correctly, we were wondering if Jonathan Taylor was going to come back and play.
Yeah,
So yeah, there can be lots of things going on in training camp, but I think if you're a member of the Indianapolis Colts right now, you recognize that this season could actually be a gift. Here's why. I think that lots of people in the NFL do not have high expectations out of the Colts. Why? Well, a lot of it has to do with Andrew Luck retiring, the whatever happened with the coaches and them being unable to get a quarterback in since. And then you get to put the cherry on top that Anthony Richardson gets hurt in his rookie year and has to have season-ending shoulder surgery on his throwing shoulder,
yeah,
right? Um, so a lot of people outside the Colts have kind of written the Colts off and said like, "Hey man, starting quarterback's dinged up the throwing shoulder until we see something. He's bust." Um, but it will show you everything you need to see if it's real quiet like this next couple weeks. Because that tells me and should tell everyone else that every member of that team is locked in. If they weren't, they'd be complaining. They'd be getting in trouble. You'd be hearing something about them being irresponsible with their time. So I think that Anthony Richardson showed enough at voluntary training camp that everybody is bought in
Yeah.
and realizes like this is a gimme year, right? The sophomore slump is what is expected out of a quarterback. And as a result, like in year two with a new quarterback, you typically a rookie quarterback in his second year, they typically have a slump. Team doesn't typically do very well. And I think that Anthony Richardson's a good enough athlete that he can kind of work around that um, because he's apparently getting even faster and more athletic. So I really look forward watching the Colts this year again. I kind of feel like they're approaching the window. They could be in fully in swing. But again, I kind of want to hold my breath, watch the kid play a few games, and hopefully Anthony Richardson figures out how to keep himself upright, right? Because if
Yeah.
he could just figure out how to stay in the game, he's going to be productive. That's is what is natural for him. And obviously the Colts got they bought a lot of their defense, brought a lot of their defense back, right? So they're really relying on their front seven pretty much to do a lot of work for them. So obviously, like I said, I'm excited about the Colts.
Yeah.
I'm a little reserved on saying like, oh, this is a championship caliber team. I don't. It's hard to
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
I do.
time and Anthony Richardson's play will say. I mean, if they are is I don't know, at least 75% of what we're expecting of him, then I believe this is a team that can make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it starts and ends with him. I mean, if he gets injured or if he, struggles out of the gate, then yeah, I don't see this team going that far. If he's really good and Shane Steichen manages to build the offense around him and build on what limited playing time we saw from him last year. I mean, the sky is the limit. I don't think I've ever seen an offense. And the only comparable guy that I can think about with Anthony Richardson is Cam Newton, and that MVP season 2014, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And you look at that offense, and you look at this Colts offense, and we are better in every single position. I mean, we have a better offensive line, we have better wide receivers, and we have Jonathan Taylor also, in the backfield. So it's like, hey, if he plays at least, I'm not saying I'm not asking him to be, an MVP candidate. I'm just saying if you play top 10 quarterback, then this is a team that could really make some noise.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said. I saw that the Colts had the number one rated offensive line going into the season. According to I think that was a PFF thing, so take that with a grain of salt. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think I'm picking up what you were putting down a little earlier with your concern with the back end. And we'll just kind of bite our tongue and hope everybody makes it through training camp.
Yeah.
Because we need the bodies. You need the people that are going to show up to work, get better every day, and threaten to play every week, right? And if you could just have the correct amount of people show up, it's like Shane Steichen just needs the bodies, right? I mean, they're even willing to let Garner Minshew go. That's how confident they are
Yeah.
in AR. So yeah, I think obviously I get again, there's so little to talk about because it's been so quiet. But again, that's what you have to have. We had it
Yeah, that's
last
what you
season
want.
where it was a loud off season with lots of distractions. And you had to wonder how did that impact you the first few weeks of the season, right? Um, and then obviously to be on the cusp of making the playoffs, right? I get to say all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, it's hard to convey how the kind of the sports cup is full if you're in Indy, because right now it's like we've been saying, it's like the doldrums of summer, but a couple nights a week the kids on TV, and you get to go watch the WNBA, and I found myself watching the WNBA on nights that Caitlin Clark doesn't even play, and the Fever don't play. I'm watching the other games, because like I said, going back to what Angel Reese said, it ain't just Caitlin Clark.
It ain't just
Uh,
yeah, and I think
Caitlin Clark's a hard carry. I'll say that.
yeah, of
Hey,
course, yeah,
now that's a damn good basketball player. But Angel Reese is right. There's tons of talent in the league. There's really
yeah,
good teams in the league that are fun to watch because they're really good. And
and
obviously you're gonna watch Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever take them
yeah.
down one by one, because she's doing it. So
Yeah, and I also think that it really, I mean, it's great for the WNBA that they play, that their season starts right when I mean, I'm not right then, but similar to when the NBA stops, because us, we are hardcore sports fans, I would say, and we have nothing to watch right now. So might as well. I really like putting whatever game is on in the background, and at night, sometimes, I'm saying, hey, there's nothing going on. Might as well put the WNBA game in and just, watch it. And that's how you start. I mean, you start watching it like that, and then you start getting involved and you start liking some players. I'm like, hey, I really like this girl or this girl. And oh, look at, you start following the storylines, and that's how you get invested.
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know right now if it's going to happen all at once, but the 5-year, 10-year outlook for the WNBA, I mean, it looks really great. Hopefully they can grow their league, and they can, get more teams in and more franchises, more cities,
yeah,
hopefully more games.
yeah. I'd like to see them have obviously more teams in the league and a longer season, right? But they're like I said, they're selling out their games. They're selling out games that Caitlin Clark don't play in. They're getting watched. The people are buying tickets and showing up and watching them play. And
Yeah,
that's a great feeling. I even woke up. I was thinking about it today, how much, as far as like even your mental health goes, when things are kind of looking up for the sports teams that you root for. I was even up this morning watching F1. So, and I never really watched F1, but I was up this morning and I was like, oh, Lewis Hamilton's about to win
yeah,
again. So yeah, I think what Caitlin Clark has done has taken a time period, right? That the doldrums of summer, and kind of made it, given us some reprieve from that. And so I'm just thankful for that. I'm thankful that there's something on TV to watch. Oh, high
yeah,
level competition. I don't really care what it is. I prefer to watch, football and basketball. Those are my main two sports. But yeah, yep, that's kind of where we are. My birthday, by the way, to totally toot my own horn, is in 12 days. Just letting it. I'll be 41. Mhm.
yeah. 19th, or I mean, those mathematically deficient of you. 7 + 12 is 19.
Yes. So on July 19th, and that'll probably be before our next podcast. So I just wanted to wish myself happy birthday before our next podcast. I'm just kidding. No, I figure um probably not podcast on or around my birthday. Probably a few
Yeah,
days after. Because like I said, I think training camp's like the 25th. So like the 22nd or something like that will probably be our next
yeah. Pre-training
pod.
camp. Yeah,
So hey, this has been the Coltist. Again, my name is Jared Malata. I'm here with my good friend Mateo Calise. If you listen to our whole podcast and you're not subscribed, please do. Please like the video. Helps more people see it. Um, have a great week. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
yeah. See you in a couple of weeks.